Good morning. It's Uncle Lou here. Yep, that's right. It is me, Uncle Lou, live on LouTube for you. Thanks for watching. It's Sunday morning. You know what that means. It's time for the only college football recap video that actually matters. The Your Season is Over video. Every Sunday morning right here, live on LouTube for you. And you know I got copious notes. So please, please, please hit the thumbs up. I chose to use a Tool song, a throwback Tool song in this video, the original Your Season is Over song, Eulogy by Tool. That means I can't make any money off of this video. You can't monetize those songs. So the least you could do is hit the thumbs up for me, and we'll get started. All right. We got an amazing list of losers this week. You know the routine by now. We're going to go through the list of losers. Amazing list over here. Was that 10 helmets? 11 helmets? Well, you put me on there. We'll talk about it. Anyway, we'll talk about the list of losers from the day that was yesterday, week 12 of the 2023 college football season. I've got a list of teams who won and looked pretty good. I've got a list of teams that won and didn't look so good. We're getting up to the end of the regular season here. Just one more week left, Thanksgiving week. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody, by the way. I do hope y'all enjoy your holidays. Believe it or not, I'm not an actual asshole like 100% like in real life. I mean, I'm a regular guy just like you. I'm an asshole when it comes to this college football, no doubt, team asshole. But I do hope you enjoy the holidays. Have you a good Thanksgiving. Stay safe. Hope you get to see all your family, friends, eat you some good food, all that kind of thing. But that's the last weekend of the regular season, rivalry weekend coming up. So we are getting down to the nitty gritty here. So list of losers, good wins, bad wins. We're going to talk about the playoffs. I'll give you my updated top four. Not who I think the best four teams are, not who I think the playoff committee will rank 1 through 4. I'm just going to give you my 1 through 4 ranking based on facts and not opinions or feelings. I'll then tell you just who I feel like the 4 best teams are. But that will be my opinion on just who I think the 4 best teams are. Then I'll try to guess what the playoff committee might do on Tuesday when they do actually release the rankings. We've got the We're Back rankings updated today. Yes. The 4 We're Back fan bases. These fan bases are back every offseason in particular. And if the season starts and one of their teams happens to get any type of notable win at all, the floodgates just open. They're back. They're going 100-0. They're winning it all. Again, the Super Bowl, the World Series, and the World Cup, just everything. You know these 4 fan bases. Tennessee fans, Miami fans, Texas fans, and Notre Dame fans. So we rake? No, we don't rake. Bob the Barner rakes, though. More on the Barner in a minute. But we will rank the 4 We're Back teams again this week. We'll talk about the Heisman Trophy. Look, I think the Heisman's down to 2 people. 2 people. I've got a list of 5 because they like to invite 5 people. Sometimes they only invite 3. Sometimes they only invite 4. But to me, the winner's down to 2. I've got a list of 1, 2, 3. Is that only 4 names? Is that just 4? Yeah, just 4, I guess. And then I've got some names to cross off that have been mentioned with the Heisman throughout a large portion of the season. Let's get started. Copious notes. Here we go. List of losers. Let's get this one out of the way. This team did not lose yesterday. Michigan, although they tried to, against a terrible Maryland team. It's a lot harder to play football when you don't know what play the other team is going to run before they run it. And Michigan's finding that out. Maryland is not any good. They started out like 5-0. I think they've only won 1 game since then. And this was a 1-possession game. Michigan ended up winning, 31-24. But, I mean, a safety, a blocked punt, turnovers by Maryland. I mean, anything you can do as an underdog to prevent yourself from winning, Maryland did it. As far as the play on the field was concerned, this was a pretty even game. Like I said, Maryland snapped the ball over their punter's head or whatever it was that one time, and it had turnovers, and you can't do that as an underdog and hope to win. But, man, Michigan did not look like the dominant team we saw the first 8-9 weeks of the season, did they? No. It's a lot harder to play football when you don't know what play the other team is going to run. You know what else is hard? It is hard to be a quarterback in college football when you don't know what defense the other team is running, when you don't know what defensive line stunts they're doing, what coverages they're shifting into, what blitzes or stunts they might be doing on a given play. As a quarterback, when you don't know those things, life is hard. Isn't it, J.J. McCarthy? You went 12 of 23 for 140 yards, 0 touchdowns, and an interception against a garbage pail kids football program known as the Maryland fucking Turtles. Spoiler alert for the Heisman thing at the end. You can take you a giant fucking permanent marker and not just scratch through J.J. McCarthy's name. You can just color the whole damn thing out. Just black it out like it was never even there. What a terrible, piss-poor, pitiful performance yesterday by J.J. McCarthy because he had no fucking clue what defense Maryland was going to run from play to play. Add that to last week when he had a grand total of 0 passing yards in the second half against Penn State, and his Heisman chances just got flushed down the toilet. Just like Michigan's legitimacy has been flushed down the toilet over the last 2 or 3 weeks. This week, they had yet another coach fired. A day after they backed out, pussied out, bitched out, said they were just kidding about a court case they filed against the Big Ten. Yeah. At the 11th hour, right before we were supposed to go to court on this big Michigan versus the Big Ten. What happened? Michigan waved a white towel and gave the fuck up. They went ahead and accepted James Harbaugh's 3-game suspension. That was Thursday afternoon, the day before the hearing was supposed to take place. Why'd they do that? I have no idea. But the next day, they fired a positions coach. They fired their linebacker coach. Why? Tampering with an NCAA investigation. What investigation? The investigation into your cheating. You know, the one where Connor Stallions was sending people coast to coast to all these different games to do in-person scouting using digital equipment, clearly against NCAA rules. You know, that one. Same Connor Stallions who was dressed up like where in the world is Carmen Sandiego on the sidelines of a different team. Central Michigan, that guy. Same guy you suspended a month ago without due process? No due process for Connor Stallions. Michigan just suspended him right away. And then he quit in lieu of testifying in front of the NCAA. Why? Because he was cheating. That's why. Then the hearing, then you back out, then you fire your linebackers coach. Then we find out about the booster who funded all of Connor Stallions' cheating. Wow, just not a good week for Michigan. Then you show up and dribble on your own foot for 4 quarters against a terrible Turtles team, Maryland. Anyway, so, I mean, your season's not over because you're undefeated and the playoff committee is still ranking you in the top 4 for reasons unknown to Uncle Lou, because I've got you at 5 and you're never going any higher. This guy just hates Michigan. I really wish you would suck out the inside of my taint and then blow it dry. I really do. I had Michigan ranked number 1 for the entire fucking season until I found out they've been cheating for 2 years. I'm just not ranking them in the top 4. They got caught red-handed with their hand in a cookie jar, cheating. So it is what it is. I don't care if they win another game or lose every game they play the rest of the way. It doesn't matter to me. Nothing Michigan has done over the last 2 years, including this season, means anything to Uncle Lou. Let's get on with the list. Well, you done got me out of breath hollering about the Michigan cheaters. Y'all need to get out of that. Some of these Michigan fans, y'all are stuck in this haze. You know who's not stuck? Caleb Williams. He's done with college football. Where does this garbage can go? Oh, right here next to his big brother. Let's put this helmet right next to its big brother. UCLA. Boy, Chip Kelly beat the absolute soul and will to live out of Lincoln Riley yesterday. Lincoln Riley ought to be done with his college career too, and I don't think anybody would be surprised if that ends up being the case. I am going to tell you, though, why I feel like Lincoln Riley is coming back next year. There's a lot of, Lincoln Riley, the NFL type of chatter and smoke. And I'll admit, I do think that Lincoln Riley ends up in the NFL. He has always struck me as an NFL guy, going back to his time at Oklahoma. And look, the NFL covets Lincoln Riley. I mean, the NFL has been trying to get to Lincoln Riley for a couple of years. There are multiple NFL teams who have paid Lincoln Riley to come in the offseason and consult with them, with their offensive coaches about some of the schemes and things that Lincoln Riley does offensively. So I'm not even saying he would be a bad NFL coach or it's a terrible idea. I'm saying I do think that's in the cards. I don't think it's going to happen this season, and here's why. If he knew beyond the shadow of a doubt that this was going to be his last season and he was headed to the NFL, I don't believe he would have fired Alex Grinch. I think he just would have wrote it out with Alex Grinch. I mean, what would be the point in firing Alex Grinch in the middle of the season just to prove a point to your administration, your fan base, your boosters that, you are looking to make changes for the future? That's why you fire a coordinator in the middle of a season. You don't fire a coordinator in the middle of the season so you can go get a new one tomorrow. You can't get a new one tomorrow. These positions aren't filled until the offseason. So why fire a coordinator in the middle of the season? Well, it's to show the administration, fans, boosters, players that might be coming back, recruits, all that kind of stuff, that you're serious about making a change on the defensive side of the ball, going a different direction and improving. If he knew he was off to the NFL, I don't believe he would have done that to his buddy Alex Grinch. I think he just would have wrote it out with him for this season. And then, so we'll see. But Caleb Williams, on the other hand, played his last college football game. He's catching a lot of heat today. Caleb Williams has had a rough last season in college. I mean, you just start with the record. Southern Cal is 7-5. This is where they were at before Lincoln Riley got there. This is no improvement. Where's the improvement? Yeah, Heisman level quarterback, Heisman winning quarterback from last year. And he one of the best offenses in football. And you're the same as you were pre-Lincoln Riley. It's back to 7-5, winless in the month of November. Southern Cal doesn't play next week. For those of you that don't know, I should have mentioned that. They don't play next week. That was it. That was their last game. That's it. Southern Cal, 7-5. They're off to some Christmas bowl that nobody's going to play in on Southern Cal, and no one's going to watch. Congratulations. So Caleb Williams is gone. But he's had a rough last season in college. From the reports of him wanting ownership stake in whatever team drafts him to really, I won't call his performance on the field this year subpar. It wasn't. But it wasn't up to the level of expectations that people had of him as a returning Heisman Trophy winner. Then you take some of the off-field stuff with Caleb Williams, some of his kind of emotions on the sideline, the sort of disinterested appearance that he shows on the sideline, sometimes kind of separating himself from the rest of the team, crying with his mom in the stands, painting the fuck you on his fingernails last year in the Utah game. And then yesterday, you're talking about a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback who plays for one of the premier brands, not teams or programs right now, but one of the premier brands, Southern Cal, in all of college football. Plays his last ever college football game, right? And then refuses to come out and talk to the media. Now, no college athlete's required to talk to the media. This isn't the NFL where built into the contracts, where you have media availability built into your contracts. And we all remember the guy that kept getting fined, week after week because he refused to talk to the media. And this isn't like that. So he's perfectly within his rights to talk or not talk to the media, whatever he chooses to do. I do think it's a bad look, though. Your last game ever in a college uniform, you're a Heisman Trophy winner, and you can't even come out and say fuck you to the media at the end. So he's just had a rough last year in college. Now, with that being said, the NFL is desperate for quarterbacks. What are there, 32 NFL teams? There aren't 20, maybe 20 legitimate starting quarterbacks in the NFL right now. There are some bad quarterbacks starting in the NFL. We see this every draft season, how desperate teams are for quarterbacks. And look, for all the issues that people may have with Caleb Williams, it's hard to deny his pure football talent. And I have no reason to believe that he won't be successful at the next level. I think he will. But I think he may look back on how he's handled some things this year at Southern Cal and maybe have some regrets. I don't know. But Southern Cal lost again yesterday to UCLA 38-20. They're now 7-5. Southern Cal is. Season's over. Regular season anyway. They're off this coming week. 0 wins in November. Caleb Williams off to the NFL. Lincoln Riley, we'll see. Like I said, I think he's coming back. I wonder if this will quiet down some of the Chip Kelly is getting fired rumors that seem to pop up out of nowhere last week. Alex Grinch got fired. And who else was it that got let go? But and then just like out of nowhere, it's like, oh yeah, by the way, Jimbo Fisher. Yeah. So Jimbo Fisher gets fired last week, and then literally like the next day, everywhere you look, it's like, oh, by the way, Chip Kelly's probably getting fired next week too. What? I said from the very beginning, that's a terrible idea. I don't know why in the world UCLA would think it would be a good idea to get rid of Chip Kelly now. I don't get that at all. Are they winning Pac-12 championships or national titles? No, but we're about to go to a 12-team playoff. Chip Kelly's got a proven system. Whether you like him or hate him, he's got an identity. He knows what type of team he has and wants to have. He's gone out now and recruited his guys for 3 or 4 classes in a row, combined with the opportunities he might have in a transfer portal. I don't know if it's a good idea for a school like UCLA to be starting over right now. I don't know. So anyway, I didn't like that idea from the beginning, but they go out yesterday and beat Southern Cal 38-20. Was that enough to save Chip Kelly's job? Do y'all think UCLA should? I don't know why they would fire Chip Kelly. Do they think there's like this big long list of people who are lined up waiting to be the head coach at UCLA? I don't know, man. It seems like a dangerous move to me to get rid of Chip Kelly, but y'all can let me know what y'all think down below. But Southern Cal, your season is over, and your regular season is literally over. You got no more regular season games. Speaking of regular season, boy, Nebraska, that's just the only games you're ever going to play again, ever, isn't it? All you're ever going to do is play regular season games. I'm starting to honestly feel bad for Nebraska and the 4 Nebraska fans that are on the internet. Maybe it would be different if there was like thousands and thousands of Nebraska fans running their mouth and talking shit every year like Tennessee, but there's not. So I truly feel bad for Nebraska. They have not made a bowl game in forever. Since 2015 or 2016, they finally fire Scott Frost. They bring in Matt Rule, a proven winner at the college level, and a rough start in the beginning, losing to Colorado. The offense shaky, bad quarterback play. But you look up 3 weeks ago and they're sitting at 5 wins. Now, that's not some sort of amazing record at that point, but it's 1 win away from bowl eligibility. And for Nebraska, that's a huge deal, having not made a bowl since 2016 and an opportunity to make a bowl in Matt Rule's first year. And the big deal about bowl practice, because people always talk about the money, right? And you do get a couple of extra dollars, some pocket change, some walking around money for making a bowl game. I've been talking for 18 minutes. That's my first sip of water. Doing pretty good today. You do get some walking around money for making a bowl game, but the most important thing is, especially for a young team, young coaching staff with young players, the most important thing is the extra 2 weeks of practice that you get. This is something that's not talked about nearly enough, but the number of practices you get in the year, an entire calendar year, as a college team are not very many. You're talking about 30 or 40, maybe, total. In an entire year. I'm talking about full-on practices where the coaches are there and everything. You get 10 or 15 practices in spring. You get between 20 and 30 practices in summer and fall camp leading up to the start of the season. And you get your 10 bowl practices. That's it. Now, there's voluntary workouts and off-season weight training and all that kind. I get all that. But I'm talking about actual on-field practices where the head coach and the coordinators and the position coaches and everybody is out there. Traditional, what you traditionally think of if you just think of a football practice. You don't get but 30 or 40 of those a year. That's heavily regulated by the NCAA. So to get an extra 10, you're talking about a 20 to 25% increase in the number of practices you get by holding those bowl practices. So it would be a big deal for Nebraska to make a bowl game. They lost 2 weeks ago, stayed at 5 wins. They lost last week, stayed at 5 wins. This week they played on the road at Wisconsin, and boy, they had a chance and they let it slip away, and they lost 24-17. If you're a Nebraska fan, you're almost just saying, if we're going to lose by 1 point, I'd rather lose by 100, because you've got Nebraska fans just on the edge of their seat, wanting that 6th win, wanting that bowl game, and you're dangling it in front of them and then yanking it away. You lost again, still with the 5 wins. And guess who you play next week? Iowa. Now, you already know I'm not the world's biggest Iowa fan, but my God, not only are you not beating Iowa, you might not score on them. You've got one of the worst offenses in the Big Ten. Iowa's got one of the best defenses in the Big Ten. Yeah, their offense is a garbage can. And again, yesterday they failed to even get to 20 points. They won, what did they win, like 17-15 or 15-13, some weird extra innings baseball score, which is every Iowa game. But you might not get a first down on them. The point is you're not beating them, is what I'm saying. Did I put the helmet up already? Yeah, okay, yeah, put it. You're not beating them. So it's yet another year where you're going to miss out on a bowl game. And it would be one thing if you were 3-9, not even close. It would even be another thing if you were stuck at 4 wins and then the last game of the year you get your 5th win. But to be at 5 wins basically for the entire month of November and not be able to get that one last win has got to be devastating to the Nebraska fans. But God, y'all's season is over. Matt Rule, year 2 has been the year for him. If you go back and look at his coaching record in college, year 1s have never been good for Matt Rule. Year 2s have been really, really good for Matt Rule. So we'll see what the expectations look like for Nebraska over the offseason based on how recruiting and transfer portal stuff type go. But heartbreaking for Nebraska to end this season stuck on the 5 wins for a month like that. You know what's not heartbreaking? Watching Deion Sanders just completely melt into a puddle of poo on the sideline for 4 quarters Friday night in that game. He just looked. He looked like he wanted to be anywhere but there. He looked like a ISIS hostage. You remember the old ISIS hostage videos where the guy would be in front of a camera and he'd be reading something and he was saying all the like ISIS talking points, but you knew he didn't really want to say it. The look on his face, he looked like he was scared to death. And you knew that like right off camera, there was somebody like pointing a gun on his head, making him stand there and do that. That's what it looks like when you watch Deion Sanders on the sideline. It looks like an ISIS hostage video. It looks like there's somebody 3 or 4 feet away from Deion, and they've strapped a suicide vest to Deion's body. And if Deion doesn't just stand there and pretend to be a coach for 4 quarters, there's somebody that's going to press the button. He'd rather be anywhere but there. He looked miserable. And Colorado's football team, of course, is miserable and not any good. So they went out. Not only did they lose to Washington State, where's this? They lost 56-14. Washington State is not good. In fact, Washington State is so bad that they had the same record as Colorado entering that game. They were both 4-win teams. This was battle for last place in the Big 12, and Colorado wins it. Colorado is going to finish last place. They are the worst team in the Pac-12 again this year, record-wise. Some people have asked about Arizona State because they beat Colorado. That's true. Arizona State did beat Colorado, but Arizona State's got, I think, 2 Pac-12 wins, maybe 3, but I think 2. Colorado's only got 1. Colorado is 1-7 in the Pac-12, dead last. Washington State's now a 2-win conference team. Colorado just 1, dead last. Terrible. Shedeur Sanders got hurt in this game. That sucks. Look, we make fun of teams when they're not any good or coaches or whatever. That's fine. Ha, ha, ha. Injuries are not funny. And we're going to talk about a really bad and a really sad injury in a few minutes when we talk about Florida State. But Shedeur got hurt, had to leave the game. Nothing funny about that. There is something pitiful about it, and that's Deion's post-game press conference, which he basically blamed the loss on Shedeur's injury. They were down 28-7 in the second quarter or whatever it was before Shedeur ever got hurt. Just look, Deion Sanders is not a football coach. I don't know what he is. He's like he's like some kind of weird combination between a booster and like a hype man. It's like if Flava Flav had an NIL representative. It would be Deion Sanders. Like he's not a football coach. He's not an X's and O's guy. He's not out here drawing up defensive schemes or offensive schemes or coming up with philosophies or scenarios entering game week. He's not doing any. I don't know what he's doing. He's filming TikTok videos. He's promoting the shit out of his sons, Shedeur, Shiloh, and Travis Sanders. I don't know why Travis Hunter doesn't just change his name to Travis Sanders. But probably because he got burnt up like toast in the game this past weekend against Washington State, and Deion won't let him change his name to Sanders. But Travis Hunter and Cormani McClain both got eaten alive by Washington State. It was sad to see. But he comes out in post-game press conference. Well, once Shador went down, it was really going to be an uphill battle. Bro, you were losing 28-7 when he went down. Stop. Just, what are you doing? I've got another question, too, because we all know Colorado can't run the ball. And I'm not saying this is the cure-all, because there is no cure-all. Their offensive line is horrible. But you SEC people that are watching right now, in particular your Kentucky people, you all remember Cavassier Smoke? Never the best running back in the SEC, but a pretty good running back for Kentucky for several years. He transferred to Colorado. Well, what the fuck happened to him? I've never seen him play. I haven't watched every snap of every Colorado game, but I looked his stats up today for Colorado, and they don't exist. Does anybody know what's going on with that? I'm seriously asking. This isn't some kind of a troll job. And no, I'm not saying that if Cavassier Smoke would have been their starting running back, they'd be 100-0. I'm just curiously curious. I'm just honestly curious. I remember when he transferred there. And then honestly, I kind of forgot about it. And I don't know what made me think about it. Something I was looking up this morning about Colorado, and I was like, whatever happened to him? So if anybody knows what happened to Cavassier Smoke, let me know in the comments. But Colorado is just ridiculously bad. They're not going to get any better. Hunter and Cormani got eaten alive. Shador Sanders is hurt, probably not going to play this week. They're a 4-win team. They're in last place in the Pac-12. And I am so sick of the Deion Dingleberries. Now, never mind the fact that in the beginning of the season, they're going to win 10-plus games. They're going to win the Pac-12, outside shot at the playoffs. Well, first of all, that was never going to happen. It didn't happen. But then, they beat TCU in Nebraska. And you can go back and look at my video. I've got a million comments in there. People want me to apologize for being wrong about Colorado. No, you apologize for being wrong. I predicted Colorado to go 3-9. They're going to go 4-8. Well, one game off. That's pretty damn good. You had them going 9-3, 10-2, 11-1, winning the Pac-12, competing for a playoff spot. They can't even get to bowl eligibility, you fucking moron. They're stuck at 4 wins, and they're not winning this week. They're not winning any more games. They're a 4-win fucking team. They were only a 1-win team last year. I know that, which is why I told you, one of the reasons I told you they weren't going to be any good this year, but you didn't believe me. Now you want to use the same argument I used, or one of the same arguments I used in the offseason as to why they were going to be bad. He's inheriting a 1-win team. He has to bring in all new players. They're not suddenly winning 10 or 12 games. That's what I told you in the offseason. You told me I was a racist, idiot, cracker, honky. Word for word, that's what you told me. Now, we're at the end of the season, they're a 4-win fucking dumpster fire, and you're in my comment section going, bro, lay off of Deion. He inherited a 1-win team. Of course they're not any good. Hey, Mick Dingleberry, you were the same fucknut telling me how dumb I was for telling you that 4 months ago. You don't have to now tell me that. So what have they moved on to now? Well, a recruiter. Well, you got to do recruiting. Wait till all these recruits. What recruits? Where have you been? Again, you dumbasses don't know the first fucking thing about college football. Not a goddamn thing. You're Deion fans, you're Sunday fans, you're basketball fans, you're whatever the fuck you are. You're not fucking college football fans. Now you're going on and on about recruiting. You know you can check these things. Colorado is 60-something in recruiting right now. Signing day is in 3 weeks. What is it? He's not even going to finish in the top 50 in recruiting. So even like the one thing you idiots were grasping to, well, maybe he can recruit really good. People want to play for Deion. No, they don't. You know who wants to play for Deion? People who sign somewhere out of high school, get to a legitimate football college, realize they're not good enough to play at the college level, but still want to be TikTok famous. That's who you get, because they'll then transfer to Colorado. Enjoy not mattering. Never coming back. Never coming back. Man. I do think Miami maybe wins the Try Hard Award for this week. Boy, they tried hard yesterday against Louisville. Here's another thing that's going to sound like I'm trolling, but I swear I'm not. I actually saw this somewhere else. I thought they were trolling. And they were like, no, I'm serious. So I went and looked it up. This is 100% true. I found news articles and everything. It's 100% true in facts. Miami was offering tickets for this game, Miami versus Louisville, a home game for Miami. Senior night, the last home game of the season. Come on out, honor the seniors, right? At a home game against a top 10 team in Louisville. Fucking 13 people in the bleachers. The tickets were buy one, get two free. Not buy one, get one free. Buy two, buy one, get two. Buy one, get two. Buy one, get two. Does that make sense? Buy one ticket, get two free. Nobody at this fucking game. Not a soul. I'm talking one of the worst. And look, there's never anybody at Miami games. This was bad even for average at Miami. It was horrible. They ought to be ashamed. But they lost again. I mean, look, Miami is so bad of a program. Forget this season. Miami is so bad of a program. They're so irrelevant. It's been so long since they mattered on a national level. It's been so long since any legitimate football team or program worried about them at all that their fans are running around celebrating the fact that they might go 7-5. They're 6-5 right now. They lost to Louisville 38-31. Yeah, they're 6-5. They play on the road this week at Boston College. I think they'll win. It's not a guaranteed win. There are no guaranteed wins for Miami. There's not a single game you can look at for Miami this year, next year, or any year right now and go, oh yeah, that's a guaranteed win. None. They don't exist. I do think Miami will win and they'll get to 7-5 and the fans will cheer that. Why? Because they were 5-7 last year. But this is the yo-yo that is Miami football. This is what they do. They hire a coach. That coach goes 5-7. The next year they go 7-5. They're all excited. The next year after that, what happens? 7-5 again. They fire him. They bring in another guy. That guy goes 5-7. Doesn't matter. First year. Next year he goes 7-5. They get excited. Third year, what happens? Same thing. 7-5. Got to fire. Got to move on. It's pitiful. It's pitiful. There are no Miami fans outside of the internet. That's it. You know what Miami fans are? Miami fans are the NPCs of college football. That's it. They're NPCs. If you don't know what that's, they're non-playable characters. They're just the people in the background of the college football world. And the background is huge. The background is huge. Walk out outside into your yard right now. Find something that's 5 or 6 feet away. Look at it. Stare at it. Just that one object that's 5 or 6 feet away. Then unfocus from that one object and look at everything that's behind it. The background. That's Miami fans. They're everywhere on the internet. Now, they don't exist in real life. They're not real. They're NPCs. They're internet background noise. They're everywhere on the internet. They've got to be bots. They're bots and NPCs. There's no way there's a trillion, bagillion, zillion Miami fans everywhere you go on the internet. And then 11 people at senior night at a home game. So Miami fans are NPCs, and their season is over. Congratulations to Louisville. They're headed to the ACC title game. They wrapped that up with this win over Miami. So it's going to be Florida State versus Louisville. We're going to talk more. Well, don't worry. I'm going to get to Florida State. A horrible injury for Jordan Travis. Terrible situation. We are going to talk about them, but we're just going to continue to go in order here. But Louisville clinches a spot in the ACC title game where they will take on Florida State in 2 weeks. And that's a big deal for Louisville. You know, first year head coach, Braum, sort of a coming home deal for him. And they lead Louisville not only to an ACC title game, but still an outside shot at making the playoffs. Look, we can think whatever we want about Louisville and how good or not good they are compared to anybody else in anybody's top 10 or whatever. But the reality is not very many things would have to happen for Louisville to find their way into the playoffs. Now, I don't think it's going to happen. They obviously have to win out, which would include a win against Kentucky next week. Then a win against undefeated Florida State. Yeah. An undefeated Florida State in the ACC title game. And on top of that, they are going to need multiple 2-loss conference champions. And that's where it gets extremely hard, bordering on the impossible for Louisville at this point. We avoided all the upsets yesterday that people talked about all week. If you're Louisville, if you're Alabama, y'all are going to be eighth again. Y'all are going to be eighth again in the playoff ranking. Boy, Alabama, can you still return your Iowa State hat that you bought this week? Can you return your Oregon State hat that you bought this week? Can you return your Miami hat that you bought this week from Louisville? Because this is what Alabama needs, too. Alabama needs teams to lose. Just winning out's not good enough for Bama. Just winning out's not good enough for Louisville. They need other things to happen around them. And we didn't get all of that chaos that a lot of people thought we'd have this weekend. A lot of people thought Washington was going to get beat by Oregon State. Didn't happen. A lot of people thought Texas was going to get beat by Iowa State. Didn't happen. A lot of people thought maybe Louisville would get beat by Miami. Didn't happen. Michigan really came the closest to a terrible turtle team. Anyway, can we move on? North Carolina was one of the teams, I guess, that still had a chance at the ACC title game until yesterday. But, man, they blew it against the Taters. Clemson looks better than they did in the beginning of the season. You know, Clemson, probably more than any other team, well, Clemson and Bama caught a lot of heat in the first month of the season. And look, they got mad about it, but here's the reality. The reason Clemson and Bama caught so much heat the first month of the season is because neither one of them looked like they were any good. And normally they are both really, really good. So it's kind of a backhanded compliment that so many people were shitting on Bama and Clemson in the first month of the season. Now, it's hard to see that at the time as a Bama fan and a Clemson fan because all you see is a bunch of people shitting on your team. You know, Clemson lost like 2 games in the first month of the season, got blown out by Duke, lost in overtime to Florida State, people shitting all over them. Alabama loses to Texas by double digits at home, goes on the road the next week to a pitiful South Florida team and can't even muster but 17 points against them in one of the worst played Alabama games in recent memory. And everybody's just piling on and piling on and piling on. Why? Because normally y'all are top 10, really, really good, undefeated, blowing people out, that kind of thing. So it was a backhanded compliment. But Clemson has gotten better, and so has Bama. Now, in Clemson's case, they just lost way too many games to matter at this point in the year. They lost 4 games. So they're just not even on the radar of anybody or anything when you start talking about conference championships or playoffs. But they did win again yesterday in impressive fashion, I thought. They beat North Carolina 31-20. Cade Klubnik, 0 interceptions. All right, it's time to finally turn the Clemson helmet back the right side. What? Will Shipley fumbled? Oh, shit. Will Shipley fumbled. God damn it. All right, well, leave the Clemson helmet. Clemson continues its streak of turning the ball over in every single game this season. Every single one. But they did win 31-20. Shipley fumbled again. Listen to this for Drake May. I was one of the people that was disappointed in Clemson's defense the first half of the season. Listen to this. Drake May. Say whatever you want about North Carolina. If anybody that doesn't know Drake May is a great quarterback, you're stupid. He's second pick of the draft next year. Hide and watch. Drake May against Clemson yesterday. 16 of 36. It's 40% completion percentage. 209 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. That Clemson defense ate him alive. Cade Klubnik played okay. Cade Klubnik's not a great quarterback, nor will he ever be one. He won't ever be. Clemson is going to have to become a lot more like Georgia. And I don't just mean really, really good. I mean, you know, Georgia has a style. They call it complementary football. But, like, there's a lot of teams that would never in a million years win a national title with a quarterback like Stetson Bennett. I'm not insulting any other teams. I'm not insulting Stetson Bennett. I'm not even praising Georgia. I'm just making a case here for why I think Clemson needs to go somewhere else for a quarterback or completely change the way they look at the game of football. In order to win a national title or to be nationally relevant, top 10, whatever the case, would a quarterback like Stetson Bennett or Cade Klubnik, in other words, a quarterback who's not some kind of amazing elite NFL player, you've got to be really good to great everywhere else and all around that guy, that quarterback. And you have to tailor not only your offense, but your defense and in your entire philosophy from the top down around that weakness, right? You've got to have a good running game. You've got to be able to control the clock in the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. You've got to have DBs and corners that can play man on an island so that you can blitz the quarterback or spy the quarterback when need be or whatever the case. You've got to be able to do all these things well. You go back and look at Auburn in 2010. Nothing complimentary about that team. Not insulting Auburn. They won a national title with Cam Newton. You can do that with those types of quarterbacks. We've seen it happen a bunch of times. Okay? And I'm not saying Clemson was a terrible team with a great quarterback when they won a national title. That's not what I'm saying. They were good. They were great. Great defenses in particular. Okay? But they were quarterback-centric teams. Alabama, quarterback-centric for the last 7 or 8 years. It took them 7, 8, 9 games into this season of trying to get away from that and become more of what Georgia is, a complementary football team, for Alabama to get to where they're at now, which is playing pretty good football. Ohio State, too quarterback-centric. They lose an NFL quarterback and they don't have another one. What do you get? Kyle McCord. That's what you get. So now what are they doing now? They're trying to play really good defense and hold opponents under 20 points and run the ball really well with Travion Henderson and play good special teams and play field position, complimentary football. Southern Cal, nothing complimentary about it. Amazing quarterback, Heisman winning quarterback, future NFL star quarterback, 7-5. So Clemson's got some decisions to make, but they did beat North Carolina. I still think I would still be worried if I was a Clemson fan about the overall direction of the program. Don't let a couple of wins against Notre Dame and North Carolina and potentially South Carolina next week. Don't let those couple of wins make you as a fan forget why you were so pissed off 3 weeks ago. Okay? Dabo yelling at his fans. Dabo yelling at the critics. Dabo saying my way or the highway. Dabo pretending the transfer portal doesn't exist. Dabo refusing to fire people and promoting from within. Dabo being hard-headed. Dabo the preacher instead of Dabo the coach, right? Don't forget all those things, because all of those things are still problems. All of those things are still problems. But a good win yesterday for Clemson, North Carolina. Your season is over. I have been watching football a long time. A long time. There are certain teams that you may not think they're going to win every game, but you say to yourself, they're going to be in every game. Or, they might lose, but they ain't getting blown out. Utah is one of those teams. I didn't go back and look, and I'm sure there's a game, hell, might even be this year or last year, whatever, where they got blown out. So I'm not saying they never get blown out. But when I think about Utah, that's the kind of team I picture them to be. A very well-coached team who doesn't have anywhere near the talent of most teams they play, yet finds a way to beat them. Because they're disciplined, they're well-coached, they're tough, they're physical. They control the lines of scrimmage. They value the run game and good defense. They understand the importance of field position. They do all the little things really, really well. And it is very hard to blow out a team like that. They got blown out this weekend. And it's one of the most surprising final scores of the season that I have seen. 42-18. 42-18 to Arizona. Arizona's good. They're not Oregon. They're not Washington. 42-18 to Arizona. Utah had 450 yards of offense. That's a lot of offense. But only 18 points. A lot of offense, but couldn't score. You had 2 turnovers. Arizona is a great example of what you can do with a one-win team if you hire an actual football coach instead of a team mom with a gold whistle like Deion Sanders. Arizona won 1 game 2 years ago. Oh, that's 2 years ago, woo. Wait till Colorado next year. Arizona's now 8-3, dumbass. I will bet you right now, any amount of money you want to bet, that Colorado is losing more than 3 games next year. Okay? They're not going to have the turnaround that Arizona had. Why? Arizona has a football coach. Colorado doesn't. That's why. Okay? Colorado won one game 2 years ago. They changed coaches. Now they're 8-3. Oh, 2 years ago. Okay, whatever. You know what wasn't 2 years ago? Last year. Last year wasn't 2 years ago, was it? Wasn't last year just 1 year ago? That's why it was last year? Yeah. Now, I know you're a Colorado fan, so you don't know squiddly douche about college football, and you've probably never even heard of this team I'm about to name. So I don't know if you want to write it down, record this, and play it for somebody else so they can explain it to you or what, but the name of the team is Northwestern. One word. Northwestern. Where are they? Right here. Northwestern. Okay, they're in the Big Ten. The Big Ten is a football conference. You know, like you're a pretend Colorado fan, right? Dion Dingleberry. So you're pretending to be a Colorado fan, right? Okay, Colorado's in a conference called the Pac-12. Okay. Now they're leaving the Pac-12 and going to the Big 12, but I don't want to confuse you. They're in the Pac-12 right now. A conference is a group of teams that generally play each other. And at the end of the season, one of those teams is crowned the champion of that conference. And college football has what we describe as 5 power conferences, of which the Pac-12 is one, where Colorado is. Another one of those Power 5 conferences is called the Big Ten. And again, I don't want to confuse you, but there's 14 teams in the Big Ten. You're in the Pac-12, there's 10 teams. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Or 12, whatever there is. But Northwestern is in another Power 5 conference that we call the Big Ten, okay? Last year, are you ready for this? Last year, they won one game. One game. They fired their coach, not at the end of last season, not even during spring practice. They fired their coach like 2 months before the season started because of something called a ding-a-ling car wash. Google that. Anyway, they fired their coach about 2 months before the season started. Didn't even have time to do a coaching search. They just promoted a nobody that no one's ever heard of. With 2 months to prepare. Didn't have time to go raid the portal. Didn't have time to secure a recruiting class. Didn't have time to do any of that. Just here's a bunch of fucking garbage that won one game last year. Here, go coach that. One game. They won yesterday. Northwestern did. They're now bowl eligible. A bowl game is something you get to go to if you win 6 or more games. Bowl games are played during bowl season, just generally in December into the first week or so of January. Bowl games. It's a reward for a 6-win or better season. Colorado won't be playing in one of those because they're not any fucking good and they don't have a football coach. Northwestern does. Same Northwestern that won one game last year. And they're at 6 wins with 1 game to go this year, whereas Colorado is circling the drain at 4-7. Type. Remember at the beginning of the video when I wished everybody a happy Thanksgiving and I hope you have enjoy your holiday? Not y'all. Not the Dion Dingleberries. No. Nope. I hope you burn your turkey. In fact, I hope you forget that your turkey's even in the oven and you're sitting in the den watching the NFL because that's what you'll be watching because you're an NFL fan. You're not a college fan. I hope you're sitting in the den watching some shitty NFL team. I hope you forget about the turkey in the oven. And then I hope it dawns on you out of nowhere. Oh, shit. I forgot the turkey's in the oven. You jump up in a fit of rage to run into the kitchen to check your turkey. And as you jump up off the couch, I hope you hit both your fucking shins on the coffee table. Oh man. This was the second most heartbreaking loss of the day. Where do they even go? Doesn't matter, I don't think. In fact, I know. Oh, the graham cracker box. No wonder I couldn't find it. Put you over here. Florida graham crackers. Shout out to Graham Mertz. He got hurt yesterday. That sucks. We'll talk about that as we go through the Florida thing. But let's point and laugh first. That's what we're here for. Second most heartbreaking loss of the day. Number one, of course, goes to Nebraska trying to get bowl eligible. Hell, now that I think about it, Florida was trying to get bowl eligible too. So Florida, you did have the most heartbreaking loss yesterday. Florida played Missouri, top 10 team. Same Missouri that dominated Tennessee last week against the same Florida team that comes in on a 3-game losing streak. Georgia, Arkansas, LSU, loss. They come hobbling into Columbia, Missouri, Florida did, on 3 flat tires and a busted radiator. And lo and behold, you look up and with about a minute to go in the game, Florida has kicked a game-winning field goal. Oh my God, signature win for Sunbelt Billy. This is going to be a top 10 win for him on the road. All is right in the world. All the heat that's been on Billy Napier is suddenly going to evaporate. And then you kick the ball off to Missouri. You let him go right down the field and kick a game-winning field goal on you. That had to hurt Florida, man. I mean, that had to just rip every ounce of soul, just every ounce of dignity that you had left as a Florida fan, just ripped out of you, thrown onto a muddy floor and stomped on by a fat person's bare feet. That had to hurt. That's the worst kind of loss. The worst kind of loss is when you think you're going to win at the very end. I mean, a minute to go. And then Missouri, not only that, you kick the ball back to Missouri. They're committing penalties. You sack Brady Cook. It's 4th and 17. Game over. And you let Missouri convert a 4th and 17 with 30 seconds to go in the game or whatever it was to keep their drive alive. They go right down the field and kick a field goal as time expired to beat the fuck out of you. Boy, soul-crushing loss. Like I said, that's the hardest loss to take. I've said this a bunch of times on here. If I know Georgia's going to lose, let it be a blowout. Because look, you're talking to somebody who's experienced a couple of heartbreaking losses in way bigger games than that you played. I'm talking national title games and overtime, buddy. So look, I've been down the road you're on. Not in a meaningless regular season game when I'm trying to become bowl eligible in November. But I know what it's like to lose in the last second. So I know it's heartbreaking. I know it's crushing for you. Man, y'all sure could have used that extra 2 weeks of practice, but you're not going to get it. You're going to be stuck on 5 wins. You play Florida State this week. They're going to beat you without Jordan Travis. Man, I was pulling for y'all at the end. I said, come on, man. For all my buddies that are Florida fans, just let them hang on one time. Let them put Billy Napier up on their shoulders and carry him off into the sunset of Columbia, Missouri. Let the Florida Gators get the biggest win of the Napier era against Missouri in the regular season. And it just wasn't meant to be. It just wasn't meant to be. I have not seen an update on Graham Mertz, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say he is not playing against Florida State. He appeared to me to separate his shoulder, break his collarbone, something like that. Again, I don't know, and I hope I'm wrong. I don't ever want anybody to get hurt, so I hope I'm wrong, but that's what it looked like. Obviously, a bad injury for Florida and for Graham Mertz. Now, I think he's still got another year of eligibility, so as far as I know, he'll be back next year. It's not like, this was... I don't think he's played his last down of college football, I guess is what I'm saying. And the other guy came in and didn't play bad. I mean, let's be real. Gave Florida a chance to win at the end. Was it Max Brown? Is that his name? I'm drawing a blank on the backup quarterback's name. It wasn't Jack Legg Miller. I know it was the other guy. But anyway, let's give this guy credit. He kept Florida in the game. Not only did he keep Florida in the game, he had Florida with a lead with a minute to go. You can't put this on him. I mean, this was a defensive breakdown in the last minute of the game. It just is what it is. But it sucks for Graham Mertz. You hate to see anybody get hurt ever, but Next man up, Georgia won a national title with a backup walk-on quarterback after our starter got hurt. So look, you got to go out and play the game. And fixing to tell the Florida State man the same thing, and they're not going to want to hear it either. But I don't really care. What do y'all think about boring games that are exciting? Does that make sense what I'm saying? It was an exciting game because it was a top 15 matchup. Oregon State was ranked, 11 or 12, whatever. Washington was in the top 5 and undefeated, so that's exciting. The game was close for the entire game. That's exciting. The game came down to the end. That's exciting. It was a 2-point win. That's exciting. But God, that game was boring, wasn't it? I mean, I watched the whole thing. We had it on the big TV in the middle. I watched the whole thing, every play. So I'm not saying I didn't watch it or it was, I was so bored I turned it off. But my God, that game was boring. I don't know. Maybe some of it had to do with the fact that it was raining. I don't know. Neither team played particularly well offensively. Washington, in fact, didn't even score at all in the second half. And damn near let Oregon State come back and beat them. This is a classic example of Oregon State going, we didn't lose. We just ran out of time. If football was 5 quarters long, Oregon State wins this game. Washington was up, 22-10 or something. They were up at something like that. Anyway, Washington didn't score in the second half. Oregon State comes all the way back, falls a little short, 22-20. Washington, 0 points in the second half. Like I mentioned, Penix, probably the worst game of his career. Never mind this season, 13 of 28 for 160 yards. He did have 2 touchdowns and no interceptions. And again, it was raining. But you know what? I love this too. Is Ohio State listening? This is great. I should have recorded this right before the game started. Actually, it might have been in the first quarter. You know how they're interviewing coaches during the game this season. That's new. Have y'all noticed that too when you're watching the games? They're literally doing coaching interviews during the game. Anyway, so this may have been that. May have been during the game, first quarter or something. Or it might have been pregame. Anyway, they're on the field interviewing I think it was the Washington. I don't remember if it was the Washington coach or the Oregon State coach. They're interviewing him right there on the field. And it's pouring down rain. And they asked him about it. You know what he said? He said, it is raining. But I'm pretty sure it's raining for both teams. I said, this guy gets it. This guy gets it. Yeah. Can weather affect a game? Yes. Can weather only affect one team? No. It's not like one team is playing in the rain and the other team is playing in a dome. 2 teams that are playing each other are playing in the exact same weather. Dummy. Damn. Ohio State fan, write that down. Write that down. Because y'all are already at it for next week. I've already seen it. The forecast calls for like 25 degrees and snow flurries next week for the Michigan-Ohio State game, and I've already seen it from the Ohio State man. Listen, Ohio State man, whatever the weather is next week, whatever the weather is next week for your game with Michigan, the game, whatever it is, it's going to be the same weather for Michigan. Okay? They're not playing in the Bahamas and you have to play at the South Pole. So, yeah, that Washington coach nailed it. So, yeah, it's raining. For both teams. Yeah. Washington beats Oregon State, remains undefeated, 22-20. A lot of people thought Oregon State was going to ruin everything in the Pac-12. Oregon State played Washington yesterday, and they play Oregon next week. So, I had a lot of people in my comments where they're winning both games. But they didn't win the first one. Shout out to DJ Uga Badoogie. DJ Ui Ungalele, the ukulele for Oregon State. But not enough yesterday. They fall to Oregon State 22-20. Oregon State suffers their 3rd loss of the season. And their season is over. Auburn suffered its 500th loss of the season. At least it feels that way. Uh, this makes me mad, Auburn. You're fixing to get it from me. I'm fucking Captain SEC over here. I don't even hide it. Now, I try not to be biased. I get accused of it all the time. I try not to be SEC biased, but I am an SEC homer. I don't deny it or admit it. What I mean by that is I pull for the SEC. I do think the SEC is the best conference on the planet. I do think the SEC has the best players and the best coaches. You know, I'm a believer in the fact that the NFL drafts more SEC players than players from any other conference because the SEC has the best players. I pull for Florida in non-con games. I am Captain SEC over here. And you went out and embarrassed your fans, your university, your coach, your mother, your father, your grandparents, your dead ancestors, no matter where they came from, the entire state of Alabama, the entire southeastern United States, the entire Southeastern Conference, and if that's not enough, on top of all that, and worse than all of that, you fucking embarrassed me. You got your absolute ass kicked by New Mexico fucking State. 31-10 at home. This ain't Hugh Freeze's first rodeo. Okay? This ain't Brian Harsin. You didn't drag Hugh Freeze from the middle of fucking nowhere like you did Brian Harsin and drop him off in the SEC and say, here, go coach some games, deadbeat. Hugh Freeze has been around the block. I don't care. First year coach, quarterback issues. Don't type one fucking word to me about some player you had that was injured. I don't want to hear a word out of the Auburn fan other than we lost, we suck, and I'm sorry. That's it. And then shut the fuck up and go on about your business. Weird things happen in the Iron Bowl, woo. Well, is Alabama beating Auburn 100-0? Weird. Because that's what's about to happen. Oh, my God. Holy shit. Is it week 1? No, it's week 11. Week 12. Lost to New Mexico fucking State. And here's the thing. People joked on the SEC schedule all week long, and I get it. It is a terrible fucking slate of games. Alabama playing fucking Chattanooga, the next to last game of the season. Auburn, New Mexico State. Ole Miss played like Southeast Louisiana or something. Arkansas played FIU or some shit. Now, look, Georgia's done this before too. So I'm not just placing the blame on the teams that did it this year. Everybody in the SEC has been known to do this. I fucking hate it. As just a college football fan, forget the fact that Georgia's my favorite team. Just as a college football fan, it's hard enough in week 1 and 2 to turn the TV to ESPN2 and see one of these nothing burger games like Georgia versus Ball State, Georgia versus Austin Peay, all this dumb shit I had to watch in the first couple of weeks of the season. The absolute last thing myself or any other self-respecting human fucking being wants to see in November, in week 12, the next to the last week of the regular season, is to watch Alabama play fucking Chattanooga or Auburn. Nobody wants to see these games. This has got to stop. And again, I'm pointing the finger at Georgia too. Georgia has done this, and I fucking hate it. I hate it. I don't have any problem against schools scheduling games against lower classification teams, and I've listed the reasons why a million times. The Big Ten, Dingleberry, Nut Hugger, Diddly-Doos, they're right on this one. It is pitiful to schedule these games in November. With that being said, With that being said, the goal, okay, Ohio State, Michigan, whoever else cries about the SEC schedule. Here, let me explain something to you. The goal for teams like Georgia, Bama, LSU, whatever, is not to have an entertaining TV game in November. That's not the fucking goal. The goal is to win national titles. Okay? Now, if I were to take you at your word, Ohio State man, Michigan man, whatever the fuck, Big Ten man, that's your goal too, right? Okay. So here's the thing about goals. Long-term, national title is a long-term goal, right? You start working on it in January for the following year. So, it's a process, right? Well, in order to reach long-term goals, one of the things you do is you set short-term goals. You make a plan, right? Whose plan is working? Whose plan is working? Is the SEC plans working? Or is the Big Ten plan working? Let's see. Georgia, Bama, LSU, Clemson, Bama, Clemson, Bama, Ohio State. Should we keep going? 2013, Florida State. 2012, Bama. 2011, Bama. 2010, Auburn. 2009, Bama. 2008, Florida. 2007, LSU. 2006, Florida. How far back do we have to go? So I get it. Nobody likes watching these games in November. But what's the fucking goal, Ohio State man? You tell me, Ohio State man, what is your goal for your team? Is it to win a national title? All right, I believe you. What about you, Michigan man? What's your goal? You want to turn the game on in the second week in November and watch an entertaining Michigan game? That's your goal? Or you want to win a national title? Whose plan is working? The SEC's or the Big Tens? I forgot what we were even. I don't even remember what we were talking about. Oh, yeah, Auburn sucks. That's what we're talking about. You know what? This is going to surprise you. I'm going to take it easy on y'all. I owned you all week. I humiliated you all week. I dominated you all week. I educated you all week. I embarrassed you all week. I humiliated you all week. I beat you again in convincing fashion all week long. And then Georgia does what Georgia does. They went out and they backed me up. So I've had my fun with you. I've made it clear what I think about each segment of your fan base. The ones that show up here every single year and talk football and trash talk and do it the right way and have fun and go back and forth. And, they show up, they're here before the game. We're going to win. We're going to win. They're here after the game. Damn, I was wrong. Good game. Maybe we'll get you next year. All those people, salute. Salute. You are fanning the right way. Salute. 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 To the fucking gutter trash segment of the Tennessee fan base, I hope you choke on each other's assholes. That's what I hope. That's what I hope. I've got no use for that segment of you people. None. Zero. I wouldn't piss on you if you were on fire. I'd walk right on by. Wouldn't miss a step. 7 in a row for the good guys. 7 blowouts in a row for the good guys. You're never beating Georgia again. And even if by some miracle the Tennessee football team does beat Georgia's football team in some distant galaxy somewhere in an alternate universe, I will have still beat the fuck out of you all week long leading up to the game. That will never fucking change, no matter how bad you want it to. Congratulations on a disappointing season where you didn't meet any of your goals. You accomplished absolutely nothing, and you regressed from the mediocre ceiling that you bumped your head on last year. See you in the middle of January, dummies. You can start telling us how good you're going to be in 2024. I can't wait to listen to that shit for 8 months again. That's one of my favorite off-season traditions is listening to Tennessee fans tell us how good they're going to be. Who won yesterday? And I'm done. I don't have anything else to say about Tennessee. They're a waste of my time. And my time is valuable. Tennessee isn't. Let's see. Who won and looked good? Let's give South Carolina credit. Terrible season, right? Every reason to mail it in. Another team that's not meeting any goals, expectations, nothing accomplished. Just a horrific season for Shane Beamer in South Carolina. But they pulled it together yesterday at Williams-Brice at home and beat, honestly, a Kentucky team who's been disappointing this season too. This was the disappointment bowl here. These are two teams that fell way short of expectations. South Carolina hangs on to get a win at home, 17-14. That's a good win for them. Ohio State, 37-3 over Minnesota. Another good performance by the defense. We've come to expect that this year from Ohio State. Probably the most improved unit in all of college football is Ohio State's defense. Now, their offense has regressed. That's a separate issue. They don't have a terrible offense. Their offense this year isn't as bad as their defense has been in years past. It's not that they've got a bad offense, but their offense has regressed. But if they had to give up a little bit of explosiveness, if they had to give up a few points per game, if you have to give up a few dozen yards per game in order for the defense to get where it needs to go, I think that's a good trade-off. So a good defense performance again, hold Minnesota to 3. They scored 37 points. Kyle McCord, look, 12 of 20 or whatever, 20 of 30, 200 yards and 2 touchdowns. Look, there are 100 Kyle McCords in college football. He's not a bad quarterback, okay? There's nothing special about him. Zero. There's not anything Kyle McCord gives you or does for Ohio State that any random quarterback off of any team in the country would not be able to do. Again, doesn't mean he's terrible, but this guy's never getting anywhere near a Heisman Trophy like all of your previous 6-7 quarterbacks did or whatever. So it's a good thing you've got the good defense because you're going to have to find another way to win because you're not winning any shootouts. So hopefully you don't find yourself in one because if you do, you're going to lose. But a good win yesterday. Florida State down 13-0 in the first quarter. The jokes were everywhere. I made some myself. They were down 13-0. Well, they came back and won 58-13. But even before that, the jokes ended there. The jokes ended quick. I almost deleted my tweet that I made about Florida State losing 13-0. I'm real funny about deleting stuff because if you delete something, then people feel like, oh, he deleted that because whatever. I left it up because number one, it's just a factual tweet. Florida State's losing 13-0 to North Alabama. That was a factual tweet. Number two, I tweeted that well before the Jordan Travis injury. As soon as I saw the Jordan Travis injury, I didn't actually see it live. I got a text message from somebody that said, oh my God, you got to look at this Jordan Travis injury. I looked it up. It was a horrific injury. I immediately went back to Twitter and posted a positive message for Jordan Travis. Now, I didn't delete the tweet laughing at Florida State as a team. The original tweet didn't even mention Jordan Travis. It just said, Florida State losing to North Alabama. There's a million tweets like that every weekend about whatever team is losing in the first quarter. It's happened to me as a Georgia fan. Oh, you're losing to South Carolina. Oh, you're losing to whatever. But I do want it made clear that first tweet I made had nothing to do with Jordan Travis, was tweeted before the Jordan Travis injury. And as soon as I became aware about the Jordan Travis injury, I immediately went back to Twitter and made a Jordan Travis tweet, hoped him for a speedy recovery and terrible injury and hate to see that and all that. And all of that is true. This is horrific. Jordan Travis has been a fun player to watch play college football for the last 2 or 3 years at Florida State. I don't think he was going to win the Heisman this year. I think he was coming up short there numbers-wise, but he was the quarterback of an undefeated top 5 ranked team headed to a conference championship game with a potential playoff berth on the line. And to see his season come to an end like that, you just hate to see that for any player. And look, it's never better for one player to get injured as opposed to some other player. I'm not trying to say that, but there's just some players who just real, because I think Jordan Travis is draft eligible. Now, maybe he chooses to come back now. Maybe he doesn't. I don't know. And it feels kind of wrong to even talk about that, given the injury he had yesterday. But that was just a bad injury, and you hated to see that. But I do need to say something about Florida State as a team and things I may or may not say about Florida State going forward. I'm on record going back 3 or 4 weeks. You can ask the Florida State fans if you don't believe me. I haven't been a buyer of Florida State for about the last month, okay? So I'm definitely not a buyer now in terms of playoffs or anything like that. But Louisville, we'll see. Maybe they beat Louisville. Maybe they don't. If they beat Louisville, they're going to get in the playoffs. They're going to get destroyed by whoever they play. But here's the thing. I've been saying that for a month, okay? So I'm not coming on here and doing now if you don't have Jordan Travis, that's it. Season's over. If you're a Florida State fan, you already know because you've been mad at me for a month. I've been saying this for a month. I said I don't care who Florida State gets matched up in the first round. They're not winning a playoff game. So I may be wrong about that, and that's fine. Look, you make predictions, you get some right, you get some wrong. That's how I feel about Florida State. Obviously, losing Jordan Travis is a big blow for them. A big blow. They got to play Florida this week in what's going to be a really weird game to watch because this is an in-state rivalry game, a big game, a lot on the line for Florida State in terms of playoffs. This isn't a conference game, so they're headed to Charlotte for the ACC championship game no matter what happens against Florida. But in terms of the playoffs, this is a big game for Florida State. And not only do they have to play it without their starting quarterback, so does Florida, most likely. So you're going to have a big in-state rivalry game with playoff implications, and both teams are going to be playing backup quarterbacks. I'll also say this to Florida State. Georgia won a national title with a backup walk-on quarterback because our starter got hurt. Stetson Bennett was not Georgia's starter in 2021. JT Daniels was. He got hurt. We had to put Stetson Bennett in. We never looked back. So if as a Florida State fan, you thought yesterday morning when you woke up that Florida State was a national title team, you should still think that. Every quarterback on there is on scholarship. You got 3-4 scholarship quarterbacks. Okay? When your wide receiver got hurt or 8 of your wide receivers got hurt or whatever you told me a couple of weeks ago, you still managed to somehow beat Pitt. Well, you're going to have to figure out a way to somehow manage to beat Florida and Louisville without Jordan Travis and with a backup quarterback. And you should be able to do it because your backup quarterback is on scholarship to play football. So, we'll see. Good luck. Good luck. Maybe get that guy off of that horse. Get that white frat boy off of that horse. Quit painting him up like an Indian. The flaming toothpick. Quit all that. It's bad karma. Then I've been telling you, it's bad karma. Get that white boy. Get White Tonto off that show pony. Thank you. And have a great day. Oregon 49-13 over Arizona State. Bo Nix, 6 touchdown passes. That's great until you look at Jaden Daniels' numbers. We'll get there in a minute. Bama 66-10 over Chattanooga. Jaden Mildew, 197 yards passing. Well, throw a fucking parade. Throw a fucking parade. Louisville 38-31 over Miami. Good win for Louisville. Headed to the ACC championship game. LSU 56-14 over Georgia State. Now, to be fair, this thing was tied at 14 apiece at one point in the first quarter. And then LSU reeled off 50-something points in a row or whatever it was and beats them 56-14. Jaden Daniels, 8 touchdowns. 8. I think he had 6 passing and 2 rushing or whatever it was. 8 touchdowns. Look, LSU and Jaden Daniels thing here, this is the most obvious case I've ever seen of, all right, we ain't winning shit this year, but Jaden Daniels is going to win the Heisman. That's their coaching staff. They had Jaden Daniels in this game at the end of the fourth quarter throwing touchdown passes. Up 50 fucking points. I mean, they're doing everything they can to get Jaden Daniels this Heisman Trophy. And he might get it. He's a hell of a player. He might get it. And I'm not even knocking LSU for doing that or knocking Brian Kelly or Jaden Daniels for doing that. I'm not knocking them for that. That's a recruiting tool you can use, right? High school quarterbacks are going to look at that and go, damn, I can win a Heisman as a quarterback at LSU. So I don't blame them for doing it. But it's kind of funny that it's just this open and obvious, right? Not very many teams would have their star quarterback in the game when they're up by 50 points against a group of 5 team with like 5 minutes to go in a game. Boy, I hope for y'all's sake he wins it. Notre Dame won 45-7 in the Sam Hartman Bowl. They played Wake Forest. Sam Hartman used to be at Wake Forest, transferred to Notre Dame. You already know. They beat Wake Forest 45-7. Sam Hartman, 277 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. Welcome back to college football, Sam Hartman. I ain't seen you in a couple of months. Welcome back. Kansas State beat Kansas in the Kansas Bowl. I don't know, the Dust Bowl, 31-27. Good win for K-State. Tough loss for Kansas. Tulane remains your highest or best group of 5 team, most likely, with a 24-8 win over FAU. They're now 10-1. Their only loss, Tulane train. Ole Miss. Georgia Tech beat Syracuse 31-22 and became bowl eligible in the process. That's great. Now Georgia can beat the soul and will to live out of you, but you still get to go to a bowl game. Congratulations. I can't wait to beat the fuck out of you nerds next week. What a useless bunch of people y'all are, the whole lot of you. Yeah, can't wait to win that one. In Atlanta, too. Wow, in your own backyard. You know Georgia Tech, we play Georgia Tech every other year. Home and home, right? Athens, Atlanta. Athens, Atlanta. Every year. Every year we play. Every other year it's a home game for Tech. You know, back and forth. You know the home and home deal, right? You know the last time Georgia Tech beat Georgia in regulation in Atlanta? 1989. Georgia Tech hasn't beat Georgia in Atlanta in regulation since 1989. They did beat Georgia in overtime in 1999 in Atlanta. That was the last time they beat Georgia in Atlanta. 1999 in overtime. That beat them in regulation since 1989. That was so long ago. Notre Dame still mattered back then. That's how long ago that was. Wow. Congratulations, I guess. Who won and looked bad? Oklahoma. Boy, I don't know about Oklahoma. I'm on the fence with Venables and Oklahoma, but they won 31-24 over a bad BYU team. Missouri over Florida, 33-31. Mizzou, you tried to lose that game, Mizzou. Michigan, 31-24 over Maryland. Cheat, barely win. Pitiful. Oh, fuck you're doing. Michigan cheated. It's pretty obvious. The We're Back rankings. Here we go. First place this week, Texas. I've been telling you, Texas may be the first team on the We're Back rankings to actually ever make it back. They're close to winning the Big 12 and making the playoffs. Number 2 this week, Notre Dame, big win in the Sam Hartman Bowl. They come in number 2 this week in the We're Back rankings. Number 3, Miami, a moral victory by only losing by 7 to Louisville. Back-to-back weeks, Miami has lost to good teams by 7 points. No one celebrates close losses quite like the Miami Hurricanes. And number 4 and dead last in the We're Back rankings, a program that is so far away from being back, they couldn't find it with a map and a telescope. The Tennessee Hill Jacks. This would make a good thumbnail. There we go. All right, here's my top 4 ranking. This isn't who I think the best teams are, okay? You people that keep saying, if you think this team is that, why don't you have them ranked there? Because what I think is 100% an opinion. And if there are no facts I can find to back that up, then I don't do it, okay? That's the problem with rankings. Too much opinion, not enough fact. So here's how I would have the teams ranked. I'd have Georgia number 1. They've beat 3 ranked teams in a row. 2 were blowouts. I'd have Ohio State at 2. A good win against Penn State. And the offense appears to be coming around as Kyle McCord, I don't know. But the running game is clicking with Travion Henderson. The win against Penn State is good, and they've got one of the best defenses in the country. I'd have Ohio State at 2. I would have Washington at 3. Washington has beat, I think, 3 top 20 teams. No one else can say that. They beat another one this weekend in Oregon, at Oregon State, on the road, wasn't it, at Oregon State? I don't think Washington is a national title team. In fact, I'm not convinced they could even win a playoff game. If I'm ranking, I wouldn't have Washington 3 as far as if I was just ranking what I thought the best teams were. But you can't deny the facts when it comes to Washington. I've got Florida State at 4, an obvious concern losing Jordan Travis, but they remain undefeated with a win over a middle school team. And I've got Michigan at 5 because they cheat, and I'm not moving them any higher. So that's my top 5 right now. Georgia, Ohio State, Washington, Florida State. Who do I think the 4 best teams are? This is who I think is playing the best football right now. Now, people can cry. They go, well, the committee's supposed to put into whoever they think the 4 best teams are. No. And let me give you an example. Let's say for a second, okay, that everything we know about Alabama this year has happened exactly like it has. Alabama is playing right now exactly like they're playing, right? Everything about Alabama is the same, except they lost that game at South Florida instead of winning 17-3. That was after the Texas game. It was raining. Jalen Milroe didn't play. Reports of stuff going on in the locker room, right? Let's just say for a second that Alabama would have ended up losing that game. But everything from that point forward happened exactly the same way that it did, okay? Because you got a lot of people right now that are going, I think Alabama is one of the best 4 teams in the country. I think there's not 4 teams right now that are playing better than Bama. Okay. Number 1, I agree with you. Okay. I've got Bama in my top 4, who I think the 4 best teams are. But to the people who just say, well, you should automatically, whoever you think the best 4 teams are, that's who you should have in your top 4. You cannot do that. What if Alabama would have lost that game to South Florida? They're still one of the best 4 teams right now, right? We cannot get into a habit as college football fans of pretending games didn't happen. We can't do that. Wins and losses have got to matter. If they don't, our regular season, the college football regular season, which I think is the best regular season in all of sports, if we start to go down to the road where wins and losses during the regular season don't matter, then what are we doing? Because I'm going to have Alabama 8th in my ranking again, okay? So is the coaches, so is the AP, so is the playoff ranking, okay? And I guarantee you a lot of those people would pick Alabama to beat some of these teams that are ranked ahead of them. But that's a guess. They are guessing. That's their opinion. It's my opinion that Alabama right now is one of the 4 best teams. I cannot justify ranking Alabama in the top 4 right now. So to all these Alabama fans, they want Alabama moved ahead of Texas. They want Alabama moved ahead of Oregon. They want Alabama moved ahead of Florida State because Jordan Travis got hurt. They want to move ahead of Michigan because Michigan cheated. They want to move ahead of Washington because Washington struggled with something, Arizona, something 3 weeks, whatever. They want to move ahead of Georgia because they think they would beat Georgia. You lost a game at home by double-digit points to a team that has the same record as you. I don't know how to make it any simpler. You're not moving ahead of them. But who do I think the 4 best teams are? Who's playing the best football right now? In no particular order, these 4 teams: Oregon, Bama, Georgia, Michigan. I don't have Oregon in my top 4 either. Why? They lost to them. I think Oregon will beat them in 2 weeks. That's not a fact. I shouldn't be using that to rank teams. I shouldn't be using what I think is going to happen to rank Oregon and Washington whenever I actually saw Oregon and Washington play. And the fact is, Washington won the game. I saw Alabama and Texas play. The fact is that Texas beat your fucking ass at Bryant-Denny. What do I think the playoff committee will do? I think they'll have Georgia 1, Ohio State 2, Michigan 3, and I think they're going to move Washington to 4 and Florida State to 5. Not because of Jordan Travis. I think they're going to flip-flop. Right now, they've got Florida State 4, and they've got Florida State 4 and Washington 5. I think they're going to flip-flop that because Washington beat another top 15 team and Florida State beat the Helen Keller School of the Blind. That's why. There you go. Anyway, that's it. Your season is over. Week 12 edition next week. Rivalry week. Rivalry week. Great games all week long. Starting on Thursday. Got games Thursday, Friday, Saturday this coming week. All right. Appreciate y'all watching. Please hit thumbs up on your way out the door. If you see a hilljack, give them a hug. Well, first, yank the butt funnel or out of their asshole. Then give them a hug.